Oh, hello there. Welcome to Coffee with Den. I was just having a look at my local woke magazine, the Gainesville Iguana. Really interesting articles in there. Maybe we'll read some of it today, if anybody's into a story time. Hey there. I'm here. Gravity Crab's here too. I just wanted to give a weird intro. So let's bring him up. And today is episode 43 of Coffee with Den. How's it going, David?
I had completely forgotten about the coffee cup overflowing. So as soon as it popped up, I was just like, oh God, now I'm uncomfortable already.
Yeah. I do have one where it doesn't overflow, but that one's less fun.
I love the overflowing
That one's
one. It upsets me and it makes me happy at the same time.
So I'm going to try a couple of things today.
Hold on, peeps to the Locachino shirt there.
Oh yeah. I've got a lot of these. So if anybody wants one, I have them.
I want a Locachino shirt. Why am I not nabbed?
I don't know. Pay me in matter, and you can have them. That's what we should put up on the website. Is all this old band merch that because there's albums, there's T-shirts, there's tote bags.
There's a bunch of defunct band merch.
Yeah.
That could be a whole marketplace in itself.
Think about how many bands must have band merch left over.
I think we might have just popped up a good idea.
Because
at least some people in
or something like that.
Defunct band store.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be fantastic.
Also, I just saw I Am pop up in the corner. Cool.
Oh, fantastic! That's great because I wanted to talk about. Here, I'll bring I Am for I Am up, who we know and love, because I wanted to talk to I Am about coronal mass ejections on the 23rd.
Oh, so yeah,
we'll get into that conversation a little bit.
Holy shit! All
right. Yes. So good morning to you too. This is episode 43 with I Am for I Am and Doomsday Prophecies.
There you go.
I guess it's probably like the 10th epising with him on here pretty consistently, isn't it?
At least that. There's more.
Is it really?
It's more than
gotta be at least.
Wow. He's been bugging us for ages.
He's just freaking here.
Yeah.
So what's going on this week? We've all got our coffee.
Yeah, I got.
I'm the only. You've got a Den mug one on yours. I don't today.
Oh well.
I still got my old ass Microsoft mug that's left-handed, and I am not. So.
Oh, that is so cool.
I love it though. It's
did we decide
ready to run?
Didn't we decide on this show that it was based on where the logo is? Like who's looking at it?
The outside.
Is the logo for you, or is the logo an advertisement? That's the deciding factor.
Well, that all depends on if you're right-handed or left-handed.
You see, now I'm just drinking it with the logo out, and it's still equally fine. So,
thinking
that's shill mode, though.
Yeah,
true.
I'm double logoed. I guess I'm double logoed. Yeah.
He's even got Matter in the background as a logo.
Yeah.
And speaking of weird things that are not left-handed, completely weird segue. So we've got this guy. Okay, so this is like your average, cheapy computer mouse, right?
Gotcha.
I'll show you my new favorite thing. So this came in a
computer shop full of parts to show off. We should do a shill and tell.
You have no idea how much cool shill crap I could find here. I sold a Wacom tablet yesterday that we got on Recycle. So we got this mouse in. Right. This Anchor.
I've seen those. And I've never thought about how to feel about it.
Right. It's my new favorite mouse.
Is it?
It's fantastic.
But isn't that something you got to get used to? It takes you a little while.
It took 15 minutes tops. Yeah. I mean, it's your hands, your fingers kind of lay about where they would anyways.
Yeah.
So it didn't take that long. It took me a while to get used to just not using this finger to scroll, but this one also not trying to give everyone the finger. But yeah, it was actually really great though. I'm going back to not being in super bright mode.
Wow.
You ever use one of these? The Logitech trackball?
I have one there right now. There's two.
I have one.
They were everywhere for a while.
Yeah,
they're pretty good. People use them for maps and for cartography work because you don't have to move your wrist around at all to do really high resolution photos.
I used it we had a trackball on the Tomahawk cruise missile route planning system where you'd plan the flight path of the missile, where to go and the waypoints and all that. And I hated it. So on one deployment, I cut into the wiring and replaced it with one of these instead, and it was way better completely out of spec, and I'm sure I probably should have gotten written up for that.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably were thrilled that you just chopped something off and were like, Logitech, it's going in.
They're at your doors. They're at your doors. They're gonna write
literally here right now.
We did that. We did that with a lot of things, because when you're stuck in a tin can for 7-10 more months, you find shit to do. One of the things we also did was we had a headset on, and it was multi-channel. Some of us just listened to one channel, most of us did, but then a lot of us had a channel in each ear, and then some of the spy radar people had 4 channels, 2 in each ear, right up and right down, and then left up and left down.
That's
so you
wild.
can have like pilots on one channel and other radar people on the other channel, and like yada yada and doo 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 doo. Anyway, we only used one.
Keep track.
But we had 2. So what we did was we used a dead channel, a circuit that nobody used. I think it was like something that the engineering team didn't use or something. And we just, it was iPods came out right around that time. So we had a bunch of downloaded music, and we just wired in an iPod into the transmitter. And then so we could just pull up that channel on our left ear and listen to music anywhere on the ship. Anywhere we were,
and the Ruskies were like, the Ruskies submarine was listening in. The Ruskies were like, I hear music.
Yeah, it was either I don't know who it was. It was either engineering. It could have been it could have been sonar. They had a couple of channels that they didn't need, but it was great because you couldn't have your supervisor coming along, seeing you listening to music while you're on watch. You're supposed to be focusing. But that was stupid because we were focusing for 12-hour shifts, or like maybe 6 hours right in the middle of the night or something when nothing was going on. And all we had to do was focus with our eyeballs, because I was a database manager. I was doing stuff on a computer. So anyway, I thought that was ridiculous. So we just, instead of having headphones on, we would just have the official, headset, and just one of the channels happened to be whatever was on an iPod.
What a clever way to get around that. Also, that's kind of a testament to how people are and how they need things to keep their brains occupied.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is so much extra work to wire in an iPod to broadcast throughout a whole into a fucking warship to broadcast throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. But we weren't allowed to sleep on watch, obviously. So I just needed something to keep me something changing, something to keep me up, except for like the blue lights that we had, because you're in the dark with blue lights and it's cold. So you have a snuggly, not a blanket, but a jacket on, and it puts you to sleep if it's 2 a.m. So anyway, there's that quick story. Would you believe me if I said that I used this trackball for a while to play Counter-Strike?
I feel like that would be a painful experience.
It was, but the trick was the ball it's pretty heavy. It's a weighted ball. So what you can do is, instead of swinging your arm around or adjusting the mouse sensitivity, if you could time it right, you could fling the ball, let it roll, and then catch it, and you've done a quick 180, and you're looking right behind you again.
It's like arcade cabinets. They had a couple of them that were bowling, and
bowling and golf maybe, or
the most
like
golf. The golden tee or golden ping or whatever it is now. Golf games use them, but the Simpsons bowling had one of the best examples of just a giant weighted ball. And I bet you people that were really good at playing like bowling games on the arcade would be excellent at shooting people with a trackball.
Probably, yeah, because there's not enough time to count. You can't time it like that. You just have to get used to it, and you get a certain cadence, kind of like where
your brain can calculate it before you can even consciously calculate it.
Right, which is what if you ever played No Man's Sky with a gamepad, there's a certain cadence where you can melee with your gun, but also rocket pack. And the melee thing actually applies momentum. So if you melee rocket pack at exactly the right timing, you'll fucking launch and go. It's awesome. You can get around. You don't need a spaceship anymore.
Wait. You mean to tell me that I could stop walking around these dead planets for hours on end?
Yeah, you can totally. Yeah, you level up your dang old rocket pack so you got more juice in it. And then you do a little melee pack thing, and then it's just like, and you go that direction. It's cool. Anyway, what were you saying? I cut you off on about the travel.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just going to kind of move the conversation on to something else real quick.
Probably a good idea.
I decided what I'm going to be.
Like for Halloween next month or what?
No, like
just in general.
Like just in general. Like I'm growing up. I'm not a kid anymore.
Oh, you found out what you're going to do when you're going to be an adult?
I'm going to be a drug pusher. But I'm going to but I'm going to push red pilling.
All of your drugs are going to be in red capsules.
This would have been the perfect time for Lisa to pop up.
And inside there's a little message like in a fortune cookie.
Yeah, that's wow. God, you read my idea. You read my mind. This is another conspiracy.
People would buy those. Like if you sold a little capsule pill that had just random shit written in them,
that would be great for like
Spencer's. Those all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know. Spencer's Gifts we have in the malls in the U.S. everywhere, where it's like. Yeah. I've always thought that there's so many inventions that are stupid that only make sense as a gag gift. Like one of them would be dehydrated water. Just add water, like in a little packet, like a survival kit.
That was oh god, what was that in? Was that the Outer Wilds that had dehydrated water packets?
Outer Worlds.
The Outer Wilds. Yeah. Totally different.
But, Outer Wilds is cool too, but that's more of a like gravity assist exploration strategy thing.
Try not to also die in a short period of time.
Yeah. I kept getting my ship stuck in behind rocks and crashing and dying, so I went and played Outer Worlds instead. But yeah, like that. They have stuff like that in that game. So I figured I would try something today.
Cool.
Let me pull this up. I have somewhat.
He pulls it out.
Agenda.
He pulls out a little baggie of white powder. He's like, "I'm going to try something.
I'm going to try something today." Yeah. Well, yeah, I've got an advanced demo copy of Red Pill, the Red Pill supply that I Am has been manufacturing
secretly.
So I'm going to try that out. In fact, I have been trying that out a little bit. As you may have seen at the beginning, I was reading my local woke magazine, and it's interesting. And I've been thinking a lot about communism, which is interesting. I've got a very good friend of mine is really into communism right now. It's kind of a whole
YouTube
trend.
Likes it when you talk about communism.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that then. Maybe our ratings will go up. But there's like a trend.
Communist before.
I would refrain from calling it a fad because I don't want to, like offend people who really feel like they, know something and believe in something there.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, we'll talk about it later, but I don't think communism is that different from capitalism in the context of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Maybe we can debate that later. All right.
Got my blood boiling.
Say, am I angry? Yeah. No, I don't think I'm angry, but I am interested.
I'm giving you a hard time. You know me.
Well, yeah, you know what? If you're not mad, it ain't art.
Yes.
So we've got a few
get
topics.
Mad.
Yes. We've got other topics, and I want to give a little note at the end. It might be a little tearjerker there, but so I'm going to put at the end.
Oh, God.
Some things that, some recent Dave stuff. Okay. So drink coffee, check. Cool. Everybody got that done.
I'll have to sneak out for like 25 minutes to take the little one, the youngest, to high school.
That's fine. Yeah. So we also have memes. Yesterday, I thought this was great. John Deaton retweeted a meme from Dragon Chain and said that's what we call a bullseye. So right now, if you don't know, the SEC is like going after anybody and everybody who they think is a threat to how the system already works and who controls it. And that's just not that is okay. So I guess if I'm going to talk about real shit, I should say this is an entertainment show, maybe sometimes, but it's intended for entertainment. And not that it's entertaining always, but it's just my opinion. And I'm going to talk shit sometimes. And maybe sometimes I'm sarcastic and it comes off as me like honestly saying something that I think. But anyway, don't get mad and rage against this show just because I say something that may or may not be appropriate. And especially if you are a regulator out there, you can't use anything that I say as any ammunition because it's all bullshit from some rando on the internet and it's just my opinion. So there's my disclaimer.
Regulators are at my door.
Yeah, well, you didn't hide well enough. That said, it seems to me, mostly based on words directly from Hinman and Gensler and people that are in charge of these regulatory agencies, that there is a focused effort on making sure that incumbents and big corporations that honestly were like, they got too cozy and they got kind of lazy and they didn't innovate and they didn't keep up. They thought they just had everything wrapped. And here comes this blockchain and cryptocurrency thing that says, hey, we can do this better, more equitably, more fairly, more truthfully and honestly than any of you have even thought about doing. And, we're just going to do it. And we're not going to break any laws because this is all brand new stuff. There's no laws on it yet. And so we're going to go make stuff. And so people that did that now are being cracked down on by regulatory agencies in the US who seem to be wanting to slow that progress down long enough for the incumbents to play catch up, long enough for them to get their slice of the pie. Gensler's even suggested that you might even have to give more than 50% of your company or up to 50% of your company to these like 20 or so banks that control.
You're going to give it up anyway, just in lawyer fees and fines and everything else.
Well, there's that, but no, he's literally. Maybe I'll go find the video and post it in the show notes. But he's literally teaching this. He was he's a professor at MIT for a while, teaching blockchain and technology and stuff like that. And he literally, like, there's recordings of his classes, and he teaches like, hey, I've run with these people for a long time. You might just have to give up some of your company to them to be allowed to compete, to play ball. So that's what's going on, right? And so one of the things that's happening is there's this Howey test, and there's this law from 1933 that, and this is just me explaining the meme, I guess. Sure. But there's this law from 1933 that says, if you, made an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of future profit that's based on the work of others, then that's a security, and you got to register that with the SEC unless you only sell it to people that are already wealthy. Then you don't have to register it. That's called, venture capitalists and stuff like that. So that's not a very fair system. It's supposed to protect the little guy. But that 1933 law is being attempted to be applied to something that the Patent Office, another arm of the U.S. government, has granted patents for, saying this is entirely novel and new, and it's a new invention, and good job, and nice work, and America, yay. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is brand new and it's never been here before, versus this is the same thing from 1933. There's part of the problem.
My opinion. Oh, go ahead. No, keep going.
And the last thing I'll say is one of the things that was said in, I don't know about the Ripple case, the XRP case, but I'm pretty sure at least it was in the library case, or maybe it was both. Anyway, there's an argument from the SEC that if anybody, even a fraction of people, purchase something with the intent of, like, with the expectation of profit, that they wanted to profit from something without doing anything, they just wanted to buy it, hold it, sell it later, right? That if anybody did that, even a fraction of people, even while everybody else is using it as a utility, but there's a fraction of people that bought it as an investment, then the whole thing gets put under this securities umbrella, right? Which is an absurd statement to me.
It is.
And it also applies to a lot of things in the past that aren't being looked at by the SEC and never has. And this is one of them. The Topps baseball cards, or Pokemon cards, or Beanie Babies, or things that were specifically sold and marketed, as, hey, if you buy this, the value might go up if you keep it safe and take care of it and are careful with it. The value might go up and you can sell it later.
You mean to tell me there's other examples of pretty pictures being sold for high value amounts of money that have been done before all this NFT stuff?
Almost like there's a precedent, limited supply. Not all of them are official. Watch out for fakes. Like, there's precedent, dude.
Oh, it's wild.
Yeah. So anyway, now that there's my intro to what this meme's all about, what's up?
To call it an overreach is just a massive understatement. How's that? Massive and
it's a nice way to put it. Well, I don't want to be accused of slandering anyone.
Right. When, I remember when everyone was all excited about Gensler. Hey, we got Gensler. This is going to be great for crypto.
I was one of them, dude. I believe.
And I was like, no. If anything, it might be worse if we have somebody with knowledge and information about how crypto works in that position or role. And remember, this guy, if I understand and if what I've heard, he really wants to move up the ladder. Okay, so he's aggressive. He's being very aggressive to get attention.
I'm sorry,
There's a mute button. I can get you if you don't. Yeah,
you good.
He needs a foot pedal.
And so I had now how this is how I kind of see it. All right. The crypto space, we are a bunch of innovators. We figure out things, developers are some of our best minds on this planet. And if you give them the knowledge and understanding of what regulation is and what it can do to a project, they'll do an end around it, and they'll figure out something innovative around the Howey test or just
which is
market.
Which should be exactly what you want. You have standards. Right. You tell developers, here's the standards. If you can not violate these standards, then you're good. And so program around it. Don't cross these boundaries. There's some that's the whole thing with bring us some damn clarity, please. That argument.
Or in the distribution, in the rollout, in the launch of a crypto. So I think that's kind of where it's going to go. But unfortunately, that's just now lawyers like to write briefs that are broad in stroke and without specifics, because then they can be interpreted any way they wish.
That makes sense.
So they really don't want to have a lot of specifics and guidelines, because they want to use it to their advantage when they see fit, or when another competitor wants to squash the little guy, they can go into it and look at it and see it's not specific here. That's great, because now we can say that it implies that this little guy is
that's a good point.
In the wrong.
I hadn't thought about that. Like it's a double-edged knife, or whatever you want to call that, where okay, you can be super broad, but are you sweeping up the legacy that you're trying to protect? Assuming that my opinion is correct and they're not trying to. You know what? Not even my opinion. Gary Gensler himself has said that he thinks that the American people have a pretty good understanding that not all government regulators are out there to help them. Mm-hmm. This was an interview that I saw yesterday. I was like, holy shit, dude. Are you serious?
The last thing I comment, I guess, about this whole thing is I honestly believe that it's all, if it goes all back to money and power and greed, and it's a turf war. And
you got to use that mute button, my friend.
It's okay, dude. It's all about turf war, and you're exactly right. There's somebody out there that has the ear of Gary Gensler or whomever, and they're saying, we're going to build this, but we need a little bit more time so we can gather that market share ahead of this such and such crypto or whatever. That's how I feel.
Yeah, they can do that, but not until we're thoroughly invested on from our end. We missed the boat. We got front run. Please pump the brakes, Mr. Gensler.
Think of it like another form of dirty espionage, almost.
Espionage, you think?
Well, I'm using that. There you go, broad term.
Yeah,
espionage meaning. Imagine if the big corporation that wants to take over your market share, and you're just a small, crypto token that has a really unique utility. Then, hey, we could copy some of this, but twist it so it looks like it's us, but we need the SEC's blessing. So, they're already doing the big lobbying. And the big lobbying to Congress, and their congressperson is pulling in Gary and saying, hey, you really need to take a look at this, and this is wrong out there. Hint, hint, go after this little guy.
Yeah, you think the expertise was brought in So like what you
And
said
that's
earlier.
a form. That's like the espionage portion of it.
I got you.
It's
Yeah.
just corruption, but it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
big boy. The big boys really control the show, and
It's
until we can, I guess, until everything kind of becomes more and more decentralized, and they can't stop it. That's really, I think that's how we're going to have to fight this. I don't think we can fight this on a legislative manner or throwing a bunch of money towards lobbyists to try
I
to get
think
the
that
guidelines correctly.
I think that you're probably right. And I think that that's being rediscovered because in the beginning, it seemed like that was the understanding. You know, even if you go back to like the Genesis block of Bitcoin, where you have literally a political statement encoded into the Genesis block saying, in my interpretation, saying, here's why we have to do this. Like it's a way to fix this shit. It's kind of pointing at something that Bitcoin fixes right there in the opening statement, right in the opening line, the Genesis block. So, and I think maybe a lot of people didn't believe that it was that bad until now. It's way out in the open and you see it, and you see the manipulation of people's opinions regarding the technology, and you see the well, here's the question I have. In the beginning, I thought, oh, cool. An MIT professor who teaches cryptocurrency is going to be heading the SEC. And at the time, I thought maybe they're just stupid up there because this is like a bunch of people that are relatively old, considering the newness of this technology, and a lot of them either don't use email or don't understand newfangled computer stuff yet, or ever will. And their job is to regulate these things that they don't use, they don't understand, and that they're probably afraid of somehow because the people that are paying them are telling them, here's what this stuff is and here's why you should be afraid of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Bradley Sherman coming in saying we should nip this in the bud because all of my donors told me to, that kind of thing. And and that was, he flew in from, where was it, the West Coast somewhere, flew into DC to say, hey, we got to nip this in the bud. It's really bad for the banks. So we gotta put this on, on the shelf somehow. Usually you go buy the company and shelve it, or you go buy the patents and you shelve it, but you couldn't do that in this case. So Congress, please protect the banks, And so I thought, maybe naively, that bringing in someone who understands more deeply how this shit works would be beneficial to the average American citizen, because then you'd have somebody running the show who at least has studied it a little bit and knows a little bit about it and who has taught it. Mm-hmm. But do you think that was the other side of the coin, where no, actually they needed somebody who understood it so that he could properly direct the regulation to effectively stifle innovation and stop it? Because otherwise you have somebody who doesn't know who to attack. Do you think that they brought in somebody who understands the tech so that he knew what startups to shut down?
Absolutely. I think that's why they did. And I think because he was power hungry, he was willing to, more than happy to take the job. I think that's my personal opinion. He didn't want to be a college professor the rest of his life. He wanted to have a different set of powers on his tool belt, if you will. Do you remember Andres Antonopoulos? He's still out there. But
yeah. I mean, not super well, but I do know.
I used to love his. He did those. He would travel all over the world and talk about blockchain and Bitcoin, and he used to say that governments out there are ignorant to this, and that's a good thing. We want it that way because we need to grow to a size where they really can't stop it. There you go. Yeah. And he's testified before the finance committee and in Canada and all kinds of different places. A brilliant mind, and he could see the future as far as that Bitcoin is the true essence of Bitcoin could not be stopped because the mining is done all over the world, and if one country bans the mining, that's okay. Those miners are just going to move to another location that could be.
It's
And
a
if
modern
it became
Hydra.
right, and if it became completely illegal, it's okay. People are still going to mine. And by the way, did you know you could do a Bitcoin transaction with Morse code and all of these kinds of things that he talked about? And just such a brilliant mind. I love to listen to it. But he often talked about the idea of this industry is young, we are small, but we don't want to call attention to ourselves yet because we're going to get squashed. It's inevitable. It's going to be a fight, and it's going to be just like in the watch party. We talked about this. It is going to be a war, and it is a war now of decentralization versus centralization, and that is really the root, isn't it? And and Gary Gensler is just one of those lieutenant colonels in this cog that's fighting on behalf of the centralized.
It is disrupting all kinds of stuff too for the average person. I I had to reject it was like $1,200 or something that a family member sent me to repay. We went classic story. You go travel, your credit cards get shut off because the bank's like, oh, fraud or something, right?
Right.
So that happened, even though the bank was notified. And this, so it's like, we got it. I had Bitcoin and Cash App and used that on the cash card, and it worked fine, that kind of thing. So Bitcoin saved the day. And but in the process, they wanted to pay me back for things that we paid for on the trip, So they went back home to Germany. We went back home to Florida. And then she tried to send me like on PayPal, which typically that was never an issue. Tried to send me on PayPal like $1,100-1,200 from the money we spent in Iceland and stuff like that. And I didn't realize it, but this year, January 22, that thing that Janet Yellen was talking about, where they want to snoop on anything $600 and above. They want government eyes on it to watch the money flow and stuff, right? Yeah. So I got this big message where it's like, you've got to re-KYC, you've got to do this, and you got to register that to be able to accept this money, and then we're going to send you a 1099 so that you can pay taxes on it. And I'm just like, what the actual fuck, people? Right. And so I rejected it and sent it back. So, I'm sure PayPal's losing a lot of business because of that.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? That they're okay with it. They're okay with it because they're already in with the big boys. They're already like, okay, we agree that we're not going to compete this way with JP Morgan, Chase. We're going to do this, and this. And you know what I mean? So they're willing to play that kind of ball.
Yeah, I guess so.
And they are essentially wanting to kill the ability, that's why Bitcoin, I believe, was taken over and converted from a digital peer-to-peer electronic cash system to a store of value. But also making Bitcoin a thought of as being a store of value or digital gold, whatever you want to call it, was also a way for us to grow in mass to be able to fight the regulators.
Yeah.
Because then we're too big.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I have to bail to take the
no, go for it. That's fine.
And I'll be back in 20-25 minutes. And then
yeah, totally.
CME.
All right. Get out of here. Take that kid to school. All right. See you when you get back. Yeah, so I pretty much agree with what I Am was saying there. I was reluctant to even, I guess maybe I'm naive by choice a lot of times. I don't want to believe that the world is as bad as it is. So it took me a while to come around to thinking like, okay, the excuses of not understanding this stuff are gone. They're years gone. And I think that it's probably malicious at this point. So I would like to see them go after some of these old baseball cards companies and stuff like that. I noticed while I was looking at this, Dragon Chain actually just posted a new one. So let's look at their tweeter. Where is it? Here we go. You seen these lately?
Oh my God. Funko Pops.
Yeah, people are expressly buying them as an investment, as a way to make money, and they're not doing anything, right? The company, the other the other whatever statements of the Howey test are like, if it's the first one is like the expectation of profit, and another one is by the work of others, meaning you don't have to do shit. You just buy it and hold it, and it increases in value because somebody else is doing the work. And something else that the SEC has claimed is that if a company advertises their product or offers it for sale on an exchange or, promotes it and stuff, that's work being done to increase the value of it, which satisfies the work done by others test. So if that applies to this industry, why doesn't it apply to every other industry? That kind of thing. So there's some memes, and there'll be some more of them going out. Let's see what else. They fired off. Dragon Chain fired off a few of them. Here he is as Ash. How you like that Ash?
Oh my God! Look at his face.
Yeah, cartoon Gensler. He's got hair in this one, so that's I guess an upgrade. When innovation and technology threatens my buddy's corporate interests, gotta catch them all. So that's Dragon Chain, XRP, Ripple, Ethereum, and Library icons there. I thought that was pretty clever.
Oh no, we like 2 of those.
Yeah, I like all of those.
Actually, I was gonna say I like most of them. I'm not gonna lie.
I've got opinions about Ripple and XRP that maybe they wouldn't like, but I'm for the technology existing. Let it compete. And here's the same one with just a hat on him. That's a Jeff Foxworthy with Gensler's head on it. Meme is what that is.
I didn't even realize that.
Gimsworthy. Well, that's the structure of the joke, right? If you scroll down, here's Beanie Babies. This is the redneck jokes.
But I just didn't
You
even
might be a
realize
redneck.
First. That's fucking great.
Yeah, so these are modeled after Jeff Foxworthy's redneck jokes. If you haven't heard them, go check them out. There's some real gems in there. Like if you've ever been too drunk to fish, you might be a redneck.
I still have one of the dictionaries from the whole like redneck
era. Oh yeah,
the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Yeah, Blue Collar Comedy Tour, man. There's a lot of stuff that I saw because I was deployed in the Navy, which I'll tell a sea story here in a minute. And we would just mail drop stuff in because Amazon was starting to sell things on the internet besides books at that time. And so we would get like DVD box sets. Like I watched all of Friends one year, just all of it. It was like 10 years.
That's an undertaking.
Shit. Oh yeah. Well, you have situations where you have to cross a body of water, and it takes you 2 weeks. And you're just crossing a body of water for 2 weeks in the same direction.
So much you can do.
There's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot of people around to bother you. There's nobody really to look out for. Like you're still on watch, watching the radar, but you're probably also watching something else.
You're in the middle of the ocean, and you're the only one there. Probably.
You got a remote where you can pause something if you see a radar bloop. Oh, look, a thing. Pause. All right. Oh, it's nothing. It's a bird. Okay, play.
That's not a fighter jet. That's a bird. All right. I couldn't do that. First of all, there's 2 things about what you did there that are terrifying. All right.
Yeah.
One, you're on a hunk of metal in the middle of the ocean. That's true. Can't do it.
There's nobody around to help you.
The ship sinks.
You're the fire department. That's you.
Was there? Okay, so like. Is there,
this is a good time to bring Lisa up, actually, since we're going into a different topic. That's great.
Oh, Lisa's here today?
Yeah,
Good
Lisa.
Morning.
What's up? Good morning.
Guys.
We were just we just got done talking about the memes that Dragon Chain was throwing up yesterday, and they started again this morning, it looks like.
I know we had Very Dow picked up on it, and they stared making ones with
yeah.
Star Wars and stuff.
Nice.
And I told them that we were talking about it on the watch party. I said, yeah, we started talking about, Pokemon cards and lemonade stands and all this, and they loved it. So they picked up on it. And
the watch party thing was about.
Oh, what's that?
That's what the watch party thing was about. I saw
we
that pop
watched
up the other day.
We watched that documentary. The beginning of it was kind of garbled because it was my first watch party that I'd hosted, and I didn't realize how freaking distracting it would be to just talk over the film. Because I was thinking like Mystery Science Theater, you throw in some, interject some things here and there, but there was actually like important things to say. And then like at one point, Joe was telling, like the person that is this one of the subjects of the film is talking about that part of the film, and I'm like, this ain't working. So I paused it and took a quick little poll in the in chat, like, hey, you guys want us to talk over this or you want us to stop it? So once we did that and we started pausing to talk about it and then playing it again, it was way better. So
Yeah,
Joe was so uncomfortable watching himself.
Oh, you could tell. Yeah, because he would apologize for himself being himself.
God.
He apologized for driving.
He really?
Yes.
And he apologized for like, sorry about all the drama.
The dramatic pauses.
The dramatic, because
you know.
So it was filmed by somebody who knew how to make an interesting film, and part of that was like good. Getting dramatic stuff, and some of it was like talk about this thing, and they would take the most dramatic parts out of that, and so it was put into something that's supposed to keep you engaged. So because of that, I think that Joe was a little bit. I don't think he was embarrassed, but he was uncomfortable.
Back and forth in his office like this, and then they're talking about, we got this other thing from the SEC attacking us, and so it was like all the drama at one point, and Joe felt. I was like, Joe, we like seeing you like a human.
It's great.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's great that you have a range of responses and emotions. That's fine.
Yeah.
So
that's what that was about.
Emotional human response actually kind of shows people that you're not a robot. So, there's that.
Made him.
I wanted to throw this out really quick. I was having a discussion with my father-in-law the other day, and I mentioned to him that we have Lisa on here fairly regularly.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh yeah, we have Litecoin Lisa on there, and he was just like, holy crap, I know who that is, and like, so
far out.
Like he knew who you were, and like he'd seen you. I guess you did an interview with somebody like a few months ago, like 6 or 7 months ago or whatever, some kind of an interview, and he found you through that, and I guess he watches your stuff.
Far out.
Cool.
I was like, hell yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks.
She's one of our favorites.
Yep.
Hi, Pops.
One of us. Of us.
Yes, that's right. Well,
so
one of you guys,
right before you came up, Lisa, we were talking about how I just basically in the Navy, and when you're on deployment, you're on a tin can in the middle of the ocean, and that's it. There's nobody around.
I'm very claustrophobic. I don't know how you did that.
Like, what happens if the boat sinks? Is there? I mean, I'm sure there's enough.
First of all, the boat doesn't typically sink. That's not really
they're not supposed to do that, as boats aren't supposed to sink. They're
and
supposed
doesn't
to be
it
the opposite.
take days to sink if it sinks?
Yeah. So there's a thing. So there's different configurations, right? There's like the super convenient configuration where you're like peacetime mode, home base. We don't need all these like hatches shut and that stuff. Like a lot of the hatch being a floor in the ground, a lot of the hatches have like a full on, you open it up, it's a big square, or you can close it and then open up a little hole instead, right? Because the full on thing takes a long time to close and dog it down and all that stuff. But the little hole is just like a little hand wheel. Open it up and close it. So you can choose to have like all the doors open, or you can choose to close everything and make everybody open them and close them as they go through them. That in itself will allow you to stay floating if you get cut in half, because now you have airtight on both ends.
Oh yeah, because you got airtight compartments.
Exactly. So there's that.
That's wicked.
And then there's also so battle stations. Like if you're going into battle, we do this thing where you it's called setting zebra. And zebra is a condition, like the last condition basically is zebra, Z.
Oh, now you're getting me all excited.
So then if you're going into battle stations, you expect confrontation and maybe you'll get blown up. Then you want to go and prepare the ship for that. So everybody has a job, and there's a backup person for that job in case they're not there. And so you have a certain section of a ship, and you have specific valves that you're responsible for. And no matter what your job is, whether you're a deck seaman, chip and paint, or you're a cruise missile tech like me sitting in the CIC command center, or if you're just, cozy radar tech sitting in the air conditioning downstairs, everybody runs around like a madman closing valves and shutting hatches and stuff like that. So that even like the piping, if it gets severed, there's valves closed so it doesn't just discharge all of whatever's going through that pipe out. So you really compartmentalize the entire ship to where you can break it up into chunks and it all still floats.
That's wild, though. Like the amount of time that was probably taken to engineer being able to blow holes in something and have it still float.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like Space Force should have been a department in the Navy and not the Air Force. Because really, you're out in space floating around just like it's a giant ocean. And the Navy's
I thought Space Force was its own thing.
I thought it's under the, maybe I'm wrong.
It's Air Force.
I think it's. I thought it was under.
Sure it's jurisdiction.
I think it's under the Navy.
Well, maybe it is.
That, or it also might be under.
Because they were saying the Navy, just like the Navy, because the ocean is huge, then space is like huge.
Yeah, well, that's how it is.
Either under the Navy, or it's its own thing.
All right, let's see.
But
they say.
I love you talking about Z like that because in my world, we moved from everything being X, and people write about X to Z, and JFK Jr. his tattoo was a Z with the thing through it, the saber or the
I'll look that up. I didn't know that
thing through it, and supposedly we're in Z right now.
It's Department of the Air Force.
The world's only independent space force, along with its sister branch, the Air Force.
Yeah, it's department.
The Space Force is part of. Now, this is Wikipedia, which I don't think
I'm on their website. Like I'm on
spaceforce.mil. I was going to say go to
Department of the Air Force
or whatever.
Yeah. So that's and the reason I thought that is because a friend of mine is in the Space Force. She was in the Air Force as a reserve, and when Space Force got founded, she transferred into the Space Force because they had to pull people into it from somewhere.
The people that have been talking about the Artemis mission on the panel, the flight lead tech, she's just like a Space Force engineer or something.
Cool.
If they can ever get that damn thing off the ground. And meanwhile, SpaceX launches 2 rockets in that time.
Well, there was a huge transfer of power with this last NDAA, that basically they took a huge transfer of finance and mostly finance and property away from the Army and the Air Force and transferred it to Space Force. The Air Force, a lot of the bases got transferred to Space Force. Like
I was jealous of
Hawaii,
the Air Force.
A bunch of them.
I don't know if this is true or not, but the rumor was that the reason the Air Force has such nice bases is because the order of operations, whenever they go in, everything's bid on, but the money always runs out, and so you have to skimp at the end. And so whereas like the Navy or the Army might go in and build out the important military infrastructure and then finish up with adding housing with whatever's left, that the Air Force goes in and adds people infrastructure and housing first. And then whenever funds dry up during the critical military infrastructure, there's more leverage to get the money you need to finish it correctly.
Then they use black funds or whatever
that's
to buy the airplanes.
Yeah, but a lot of that's above board as far as contracting goes. You can look in to see where the money went as far as building out stuff. So it's one theory. I don't know if that's true or not.
Interesting.
Don't quote me. So
very interesting.
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm out of coffee, but I want to tell a quick story.
Okay.
So
I have a question for you on the living in the.
Let's do that.
Did you live in a submarine or in a boat?
I was on a boat. I was on the USS Nitsa, DDG 94.
There's a piece of wood. There's a plank from it behind you.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, right there. I'm a plank owner. I helped build that one.
Cool.
And let's bring that up here. So this bad boy, I was here.
Wow.
Right. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I can zoom in even more. Far out. Look at that. I can't. Oops. Can I move around? Yes. All right. So there's the front. I've fired that weapon right there, the 5-inch gun.
God.
That was interesting. I fired twice in succession. We were testing a new weapon system to see if it worked right. And I don't know if it did or it didn't, because it didn't work right. And it was either me hitting the wrong button or it was the system. But anyway, we hit 2 targets, except it wasn't 2 different targets. It was 1 target, and then I hit the 1 target again. I thought I changed to the next target, but I just shot the same one again. And then these are all the missile launchers. So this is where all my Tomahawks would be. All my cruise missiles would be in this vertical launch. Just
wait, so they just those little hatches just open and it just flies out. That's fucking cool.
And some of them, so the Tomahawks take up a full square. But there's also the new Sea Sparrows. We call them a quad pack or a 4-pack, because they're smaller and thinner. So there's actually 4 of them in a 4-pack in 1 square. And those things leave the launcher, the Sea Sparrows, they leave the launcher at like Mach something already, like out the gate. They don't even have to speed up. They're just already, because it's air defense. It's meant for like incoming, like now kind of
like
thing.
Please blow the thing up that's above me.
So there's that. And then my favorite thing to do, I was inside the ship for whenever I was most of my watches and stuff, because I was watching database and radar stuff. But whenever I would get off a watch at night, one of my favorite things to do is come up here where this person's standing on the bridge wing. It'd be like 2 a.m. Typically I'd have 10 to 2 or something, go in at 10 p.m., get off at 2 a.m. when I was relieved. And then like I'm awake because I've been drinking coffee and I'm staying awake and I'm not sleeping on watch. So I'm primed at 2 a.m. like, I got to chill out. So I would come up here, say hello to the pilot deck or the pilot house, and I'll come out in the bridge wing to whoever was on watch. Usually it was a deck seaman on watch. And I'd just hang out, watch the stars. It's completely black. No lights are on. There's no cities. There's no land. And you have the most beautiful view of space because there's just nothing to get in the way.
What ocean were you in?
Usually the Atlantic. I did the Atlantic, the Arctic Circle a little bit by Norway. I did 3 tours, 3 deployments. So one was up by Norway, one was down by Somalia in Mogadishu, and one was here. Let's talk about it. Google Maps. No, Google Earth. No, Google Maps. Boop, boop. Let's zoom way out. Way more than that. There we go. So we would usually cross the Atlantic like this, go in a big arch. And the reason for that is because you save a lot of fuel by going up and then down, because actually that's a straight line and the map is flat, but the Earth is round. So that's one of the reasons I know the Earth is round.
Okay, I was going to say, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, we would save fuel by traveling in a big arch, because you would cover less ground, because that was actually more of a straight line.
More of a straight line.
And then we would refuel typically in like Spain, right? We go to Rota. Actually, I think it's down here. So one time I went to Norway, Trondheim, wherever that is. And yeah, right there, Trondheim, which was great. We were with Russia. They brought in the Admiral Chabanenko as their ship, and we played with each other for a while. We came in together through the fjords. We hung out for a week in Trondheim, drank together, partied together, went back out, did some exercises, came back in for a second week. We taught them how to play beer pong. They came over and told us we had a nice ship. But
You're
that was
dating the Russians. Is that how
it was? Yeah, that was one of my 3 deployments, and that was referred to as a booze cruise, because we were trying to play nice with Russia. It was under the Obama administration, and we landed our helicopter on their ship, and they landed their helicopter on our ship, and then we got a bunch of people in a boat and pretended to take over their ship, and then they got a bunch of people and they came over and pretended to take over our ship, and we were just basically like, I guess, sharing information about how we operate with each other, but also being nice, keeping up foreign relations, that kind of thing. So I did that. And then the other 2 tours, we came through the Mediterranean. Here, one of them, I got stuck right here because they had shut down the Suez Canal. They were protesting and striking. So I hung out floated around for a couple of days while that was shut down. Went to Israel and Cyprus and Greece and all these things, Malta, down through the Red Sea, bloop, bloop, bloop. And then right here is where my 2 tours were split. One year we went south, came down to Mogadishu, like literally right here, a few miles off the coast, and doing a lot of piracy interdiction, boarding ships, looking for contraband, drugs, guns, people. We caught a little bit of all of that. Sad whenever you see people being smuggled in today's age. Very surprising how active the piracy game is still today. And then the other tour, I went up into the Persian Gulf, stopped in Dubai, which I'll talk about here in a second. And mostly we're just protecting oil rigs, making sure that all the oil rigs in the Persian Gulf, that nothing happened to them. That was our whole purpose for being there. And we sat there for months, making sure nobody.
Who's doing that?
That's an international. That's NATO, basically. NATO, okay. There was us. There was the British. There was Canada. Was there? There was what the hell's that country? Malaysia was there. Malaysia? Yeah, Malaysia. I think was one of the ships. I toured their ship. They toured our ship. Because whenever you're hanging around, and your whole job is to like just be there, just in case. You get bored and you find a lot of stuff to do. So we would tour each other's ships to see what the difference was, trade hats. Sometimes we would go onto the oil rig to do like run a marathon, just because there's nowhere else to run because you're out in the ocean, you know? So yeah, there's those tours. That's what that was like. Really so I've never been beyond. We did have an encounter with a North Korean ship over here that was more of an escort situation than anything else, but we made fun of them and played. I think it was like a South Park episode that was jabbing Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il at the time. I don't know, just harassment of North Korean ship. That was fun. And then, so I haven't gone past India though. And then on the other end, I haven't gone past the middle of the Gulf. We did come over and go to Mardi Gras once, but that's it. So I've never done the Pacific. They're just the section of the world right here. Hey, we've got somebody else. Check it out. John's here from New York.
I'm actually in Gainesville.
Are you in Gainesville?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome back to Gainesville, I guess.
Yeah, we came back to do a couple things for like a week, and then I'm back to New York on Friday.
All right, far out, dude. I was just getting ready to tell a quick sea story. I was showing Lisa where I had gone on my 3 deployments in the Navy on this here map. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to play a 30-second video while I refill my coffee. Now that John's here, we're going to turn off the video for a second. What? And I'll be back in 30 seconds. And then I'm going to get into this story about how not to pay a bar tab.
What about everybody's favorite segment?
I don't have that. Where is it? The one you made?
What happens when Dave leaves?
Oh, do you want to do that? Because I'm here now. Or you're here now, so you can just do that. You want to do that? You ready for it? Because I'm going to go get coffee.
Oh, yeah. I woke up about, 10 minutes ago, but let's do that.
All right.
What happens when Dave leaves?
All right. John can improv. I'll be back, and then we'll tell a story. It'll be great. It'll be great. No promises.
Okay, great. So this is a segment called What Happens When Dave Leaves. Lisa, I can't tell if you're here or not. Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. It's morning.
Like you were like statuesque and not moving. So it's just like,
you.
I was like.
I was stunned by your presence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Or I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
No, it's a good thing.
Oh, grabs here. I guess he can't hear us. All right, so this is a segment
He'll
called.
Put his headphones back in.
Oh, yes, I'm so excited.
Howdy, John.
You're just in time for everybody's favorite segment.
What segment?
Well,
what happens when Dave leaves?
Well, God, Dave's not here. Crap. Okay, so damn it.
All right.
Oh wait, he's back already.
It took too long to start the segment.
I missed it. I literally was in the room dealing with,
and that's the reason why Jesus, Mohammed, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster are all going to form together to become one giant fighting superhero.
Wow,
that would be
incredible. Thank you.
Incredible conversation.
I want to see Jesus with like big old spaghetti monster tentacles coming down to kick some ass. It'd be kind of cool.
So yeah, sorry, Dave.
You may see that soon.
You missed the segment.
So while I was gone, you spoke about religion and politics.
Yeah,
fantastic. Nothing could go wrong.
And superheroes. And superheroes. I think that's important to remember.
Well, yeah, religion, like I said.
I haven't moved. Have you noticed, guys? I've been so intrigued with everything that's been everyone's talking about. I haven't even moved.
But you're so happy. You have such a great smile this morning.
Good
All right. So who wants to hear about the wrong way to pay a bar tab?
I do.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
So I was just saying we were in Dubai on one of my deployments. And so we went out. We had been out a couple of months. There's this rule in the Navy. You're not allowed to drink when you're on deployment, of course. But when you're out to sea, floating around, no beer. The Canadians have a bar on their ship. You know, they can keep up their tolerance and they can just, you know, maintain the status quo with their liver, I guess. But American sailors are not allowed to drink at sea. So there's no bar, there's no beer, except there is, because if the one caveat is if you're out for longer than 2 months at sea without pulling into port, you get a beer day, and you get to have 2 beers.
I've heard of this.
Actually, you get a beer day, and so I've had some beer days, and I've been very close. I think this particular time we were pulling into Dubai, we were really close to having 2 beer days in a row, meaning 4 months without pulling into sea, without pulling into port, without setting foot on land, without 4 freaking months, right? So we didn't quite make it that far, but what we did was my captain, one of the better captains I've ever had, he negotiated basically some R&R in Dubai. We didn't have to go to Dubai. We didn't have any strategic reason there. Of course, we needed to resupply, and we could do that there. We could refuel. We could organize logistics to bring food to resupply, but we could do that anywhere. But really, we wanted to go to Dubai because Dubai was really starting to pop off. At this time, I think still, actually, there's probably a bunch of cranes building stuff, but a lot of the cranes in the world were tied up in Dubai, building just entire sections of town all at the same time. Just build all the things. So anyway, we figured out that we had been given permission to go to Dubai for a week. We had 7 days in Dubai. And so we're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. None of us has been to Dubai. I'm from the woods in Florida. I've never been to a desert. You know, it's the opposite of a swamp. So, you know, we have all these trips planned, and we have a MWR is Morale, Welfare, Recreation. It's like a department in the Navy. And so they had planned all these excursions, which I went on some of them. I went, sandboarding in the desert on a surfboard. We went to the mall, where I went like the same weekend I went snowboarding in the mall because they had artificial ski slopes and stuff. But also there was a 3-day period where a bunch of us went out together, got a hotel room, and just stayed out in town for a few days because we're like, dear God, can we please get off of the ship? Right? None of us wanted to be on the ship because we have to come back at night and sleep there, but we'd just been there for 4 months. So we all went out, and of course we're going to go hard. We're sailors in port that haven't been allowed to party for a while, and we're all at a hotel together that has like a restaurant and a bar and a place to crash where you don't have to go anywhere afterwards. And a friend of mine had just been advanced, had just got a promotion, and she just made chief, and it was a really big deal. And so all of us did different stuff, you know. Different things are important to different people. But one thing we all agreed on is that we should all get together and drink. And so we, I was going to tell the story about how my friend got a massage with a happy ending. But I think I'll skip that part and just go right to the bar where we all got together.
This is already the longest story on how not to tip at a bar.
And the only thing I really have to say is that the mistake my friend made was before anybody ordered their drinks, she let it be known that she just got a promotion and she's celebrating, so she's got the tab tonight. Right?
Whoops.
So everybody gets the word like, oh man, Brooke's buying everyone's booze tonight. So we go extra hard, of course, because we're not paying
like
for it.
open bar at a wedding.
It just became
everyone's buying top shelf.
Yeah, and man, it was great. Not the next day, but it was great. And at the end of the night, it was they're not on the euro. They were on they're on their own currency. So we had to, and there was no Google
conversion
thing, right? We didn't have nobody had a smartphone. iPods had just come out, so nobody had smartphones yet. And so you see her here with a calculator at the end of the night, and drunk on a calculator too. And she keeps redoing the math and coming out with the same number. And she starts sweating, and she's like, "Holy shit!" She just blew I think she spent like a couple of months' pay that night, and she was sad and disheartened. But I learned my lesson there about how to pay a bar tab, and I've used that ever since when I go out with friends and we go out together. At the end, whenever it's time to pay the tab, that's when you say, "Oh, by the way, I'll get everybody's drinks, or I'll get dinner for everyone," because then people have been assuming they're paying for their own stuff, and they've been maybe a little bit more conservative because they got to pay for it. And then you still get to be the nice person and cover everyone's meal, and so that's the long story.
Lesson.
Is wait till the bill comes before you offer to pay it.
Somebody said I'll pay for the tab before seeing the bill or before they ordered
drinks. Everyone started drinking.
Oh my God.
It's the beginning of the evening.
That is
a bunch of sailors who haven't been off the boat in 4 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Poor thing. Oh, she hadn't been hurting.
Oh, that sucks.
She's hurting the next day in both ways. Oh
yeah, plastic.
Financially,
my wallet and my head.
In my head. Ugh.
Yep. So if we ever go out and I don't offer to pay your tab, it's you're rolling the dice, because I might or I might not. I don't know. Don't assume I will, because if it gets too expensive, I still have an out. I'm like, man, that was too much.
He won't. I've been out with Dave. He won't.
So
you won't pay your tab.
It wasn't a profound story. I've got one that's a little bit better that I'll throw at you here in a little bit.
What's on your shirt?
My shirt says
Lo
Cochino.
Oh, that's no Lo Cochino. That's no Delta Lo Cochino shirt.
Yeah. I got a bunch of these albums, shirts, tote bags. I was thinking maybe I'll sell them for Matter or give them away.
You're saying earlier we should open up a store that's just sells defunct band merch.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of bands that have merch that they never sold, but they also don't play anymore.
And
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know how people go thrift stores just to buy weird shirts that don't make sense from things they've never heard of. That sounds awesome.
That'd be awesome, actually. Just somebody in Canada with a Lo Cochino shirt, like a band that does not matter there at all and would never have been heard of.
When you travel out of the country, it's funny when you look at all these different shirts,
But then you need to make it where they have you need to have a QR with it or some kind of instructions where it's okay, and everywhere you go, take a selfie with your shirt and then have a map that goes with the business or with that band. And you took that band, you traveled that band to wherever
over to this place.
It went.
That's kind of neat, actually.
I would love to get into.
You could NFT it somehow.
Yeah, I would love to get that sort of system going on with the University of Florida here, where I live, where any band locally has the benefit of people that come here for a couple of years and then leave. So if you can get them as a fan before they move out to wherever they go, they're going to take you with you and then tell their friends about you and stuff like that.
Never thought about that before.
Conveyor belt of advertisement.
That's a good point.
So look, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the Carrington event, and I want to talk about some things.
Okay, we're talking about the Carrington event.
I also want to note, since I have it up here, that you can vote on new layers right now over on Den.
Oh, neat!
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you can, then there's a countdown to the top for the next 5.5 days. You can vote. And if you've been using Den, you have Lore, and you can vote.
Okay. I tried voting from my phone, and I don't know if I didn't have enough Lore loaded in my wallet or something didn't work right from my phone. I couldn't.
Opened recently, like yesterday or something.
Oh.
So if you tried before that, it's only open for 1 week every month. So before this week, there was a period where you could propose a new layer, if it didn't exist in the list.
It might have been the day before.
And then now you can vote on it. So let me see
what numbers are winning.
Yeah, that's my question too. Good job, Gravity.
What numbers are what?
What numbers are winning is what he asked, and that was my question too.
So there's 2 categories that'll win. There's a category of by lore and a category of by unique voters, because you can vote more than once. You can put more lore on it. The by lore, the number 1 doesn't win. It's going to be, I think it's 5 and 8 or 8 and 13. I got to go look, actually. Let me go look. If we go to layers and we scroll down to LCP, let's do some research live.
From New York, it's Saturday night.
Actually,
one of us is live from New York. Now that I think about it,
is open. So yeah, this was posted 1 day ago. Go ahead and vote for that. Throw some energy on it. Mark the announcement tag, because that's true. And let's see. Yeah, 5 and 13. So it's going to be number 1 as ranked by unique voters, and then the one with ranked by lore is going to be number 5 and 13. And that's just so you can't game it in the first, like the one layer wins both categories. So 5 and 13 by lore would make it 5 would be books. I do like books, and 13 would be Star Wars. I had my
going for the books Lair. It's funny that we say the books Lair is the number 5 one right now. The guy that I just had to walk out front and help a little while ago is the guy that gives me all of my ancient books.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully when he comes back to pick up the computer, I'll have a couple of cool new books.
Those will move around a little bit since it's 5 and 13. As people are voting and stuff, you'll see them pop up and down, and they'll move. Especially like in the last couple of hours, you'll see people are like sniping in the end, trying to push stuff up and down, put theirs in the 5 or 13 spot.
That's when it looks
like we might get UFOs. Look at that. 1.5. Oh wait. 48 unique voters. So the number 1 slot in unique voters does win.
Sweet.
Boom.
That seems like a duplicate. Den's Got Talent, because we already got a Got Talent layer, don't we?
I don't. Oh, wait. I don't know.
See, it's on unique votes. It's number 3. Den's Got Talent.
Den's Got Talent. I don't know. Do we?
I thought we had something like a talent.
Den's Got.
Or talent, something.
Talent.
I don't know, maybe I'm.
How do you spell talent? Talent? I don't know. Neither one of them.
Oh, okay. I was thinking we did.
Remembering it get proposed and then not actually.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
We did an episode called Den's Got Talent, and maybe that was that one. So go vote for those. I'm going to vote for UFOs. I haven't. Oh yeah, I have already, but I don't have enough of that. Let's fix that.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for that too.
Yeah, I'll go in and do that in a minute. Cool. So there's my plug for the LCPs. What did I say we were going to do next? Carrington event.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So this one's fun. There's been some research that at first I was like, okay, that's kind of hokey, but then I thought about it again and I was like, actually, that's a pretty good way to try to get both religious and scientific people to like accept your research. So there was some research done that used both standard scientific stuff and standard religious stuff to come to the same conclusion. So they used the Quran, I think, and the math, I guess. I don't know what you would call science. And what they came up with, which there's evidence now that there's the sun's getting ready to eject some mass, and they're estimating down to the hour that it might happen. So September 23rd at 5 o'clock Universal Time, 5 in the morning, there could be a powerful Carrington event scale coronal mass ejection. And if that happens, and then secondly, if it is aimed at the Earth, not that it aims, but
projects.
Wow, what a conspiracy theory that would be. Like someone's aiming the sun. That would be it. Anyway, so if it's aimed at the Earth properly, it'll hit us and it'll fry electronics, and you won't be able to start your car, and you won't be able to make a phone call, and the satellites will fall out of the sky, and everything burns. Right? So that's on September 23rd. What do y'all think about that?
On September 22nd, I'm going to pay down all my debt and wash my car, vacuum clean the house, all that good stuff.
Make sure you're ready.
So I'm ready. But no, in all seriousness, I guess because I'm agnostic, I can't get the other half of the equation to plug into this to come up with the date and time. It's kind of like saying the second coming is going to happen next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. Nobody knows, is my feeling. Mathematically, okay, I don't know how they come up with that specific date and time. However, I will say this. The sun goes through like that 11-year period, and they count how many sunspots. And they've been counting sunspots forever and ever and ever. And that's how we know what happened with the Carrington event.
Right.
And so Carrington event 2, part 2 happens. We're primed for it. We're really primed for it between, this year, next year, maybe, 2024, possibly. Otherwise, it's going to be the next 11-year cycle. So, are
we dying in the next Carrington event?
No, we're not going to die in the next Carrington event. We're just going to, either it depends on how long the burst is. Maybe half of the world, loses all of its electronics and power grid because everything gets fried, and the other half of the world is fine. Or as the Earth rotates, the whole world loses its power grid, and we're kicked back to the Stone Age, or Bronze Age, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, there's going to be a mass death event that will follow because, example, insulin, you couldn't keep it cold. So it's, those people that rely on insulin are not going to make it.
This is why it's one of my most favorite things to look into and to read about, is because, all right, maybe it's not going to happen next week. Maybe it does. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But factually, it's going to happen. Like 100 years, 1,000 years. We don't know.
And it's one of the things that also I hear people like, everybody says like, because like sun flare is the other thing that gets talked about with this. But, people are just like, oh, people keep saying there's going to be a giant wave from the sun that destroys all the electronics. And they act like that's something that's like a conspiracy theory when it's just how the sun works.
Yes. It's cyclical. The sun is cyclical.
And the event namesake comes from when it happened last time.
That's right.
Yeah, because he discovered the fact that it happened.
Yeah, it was just kind of by circumstance. He saw this giant sunspot. This guy named Carrington, Lord Carrington in the UK, saw this giant sunspot. And it was at the same time that all of, the telegraph wires just started lighting up.
Working on their own,
just in the atmosphere. And had that happen, or when that happens again, we got a couple of things that are working against us as well. The magnetic poles are shifting, and I'm not talking about the physical North and South Pole. I've talked about this before, but the magnetic poles are kind of sliding and turning, and that's also weakening, or I don't know what the real cause is, or is weakening our magnetic shield. And it is just that. It's a magnetic shield. And when you see those aurora borealis and it looks all pretty and that kind of thing, that's the radiation essentially that's coming raining down on you. It's beautiful, but
that's shifted too and has come more southern over the years.
Yes. And
the magnetic poles have been drifting. I don't know. Are they speeding up? I've heard
they are.
I
haven't looked into it.
But factually, they do drift, yeah. And they have flipped. North and South Pole has flipped historically. Right. Somehow there's geography proof, or what do you call it? Geological proof of that.
Yeah, that's right. And it's I think it happened, I want to say about every 75 to 100,000 years, something like that, is when those magnetic poles shift. But during that movement, and then there's not a actual shift. It kind of flows southernly, and the other one's kind of flowing northernly, and then they kind of pop back. So, but during that process, our magnetic shield is weakening, and our magnetic shield right now is weakening at a substantial rate. So even a small solar flare can have an impact on maybe a continent or something of that nature. And then remember, there's two. You have the coronal holes, which are pushing that solar wind, and that pushes our shield. and that shield kind of gets weak. And then when you have a plasma burst, the CME that's coming while our shield is weak because of is kind of a double whammy. There was a giant solar CME, I think last week, but it was on the opposite side of the sun. So Venus got hit twice really hard this past month. But we're right at the peak. We're right at the peak. 2023, 2024 is right at the peak of the solar cycle, and our weakening shield, shall we say. And that Earth magnetic field, what's fascinating is one is drifting towards the Indian Ocean and the other one is drifting towards Siberia.
Okay. This is one of the things that naysayers, Martian naysayers, they say that we'll never be able to live on Mars. We'll never be able to set up camp over there and have a Martian base because Mars doesn't have a molten core. Which means it doesn't have a magnetic field, which means there's no protection against solar solar winds and radiation and things like that, like Earth has, which is an interesting argument, I think.
Yes.
It's
a Carrington event too. It's going to happen. Who knows if it's in our lifetime or not? But
I don't know if it'll be exactly.
We're getting closer. We're certain getting. All the signs are pointing that
statistically, though.
There you go.
I wonder how far. Statistically, though, I'm trying to decide in my mind, do I want to be alive for this event or not? Probably, because I feel like that would be amazing from a historical standpoint. But how
gotta die of something?
I don't think it's up to you.
Would it actually push people? Because the last time it happened was 18. When was the date of the last one? 1880?
1800s, right?
Yeah, 1860 something, right?
60. Okay, I was that somewhere. We're going to call it the 70s, 1870s. So we would essentially just be reset back to a period of time around 1850-ish, because at that point we'd be in the same general refrigeration. We'd be back.
59.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. Now think about how much we rely on all this. It's sad.
So we didn't have anything back then like we have today. We had telegraph stations, and that's it.
That's it.
They had big, thick, honking lines. All the wire runs were robust. And so it was able to handle. They were able to remove the batteries and still send messages along the line because there was inductive electricity being induced into it. You didn't need batteries. That kind of stuff. That would fly shit today. That would you can't handle that kind of induction today on stuff.
I was watching a movie last night about remote viewing and how the CIA used it and all this stuff. It was really wild, but they were talking about, I believe it was the Russians creating these huge domes to protect against something like this. And I don't know, it was pretty interesting.
I know that there's shielding, militaries use shielding for nukes for what do you call it? EMP blasts and things like that.
Okay, maybe that's what it was more for.
So you know what we need? We got to give Professor X a call. We got to get Cerebro made.
Okay. He what worked for him was the big what was the Logan film? He was in a big water tower that had fallen down, right? Yeah. And the steel water tower was enough to keep, so if it works for X,
we need to make a Cerebro for everybody. Professor X went to Bard College, in New York. All right. And we can find some people there that are special humans and have them build us a Cerebro. I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Just go ask them, which one of you guys built the Cerebro for X?
A Cerebro is just a glorified cyborg. No, servo. No, we need a Cerebro. We really do. We need the guy that can, because isn't he the one that is, I'm not a big fan, I guess. He's the one in the wheelchair, Captain Picard.
Yes.
Right?
Professor X. Yeah.
Professor X.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't. Hey, yeah. Out of
I
my
got
wheelhouse.
I
I'm
got you.
so
Look,
sorry.
I subscribe to alternative realities when it comes to my superheroes and how I like to protect the Earth. So I'm usually just hoping that like Captain Marvel will show up and
I know him. I know Professor X substantially more from the fact that he's Captain Picard as well, though. So,
you know, I we had kind of a get together at the house a couple of weeks ago, and everyone was talking about what would be your superpower. What would be your superpower? Oh, I'd want to fly. Da, da, da. Well, they asked me, and I says, invisibility, and they go, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Like, what would you do? And I go, oh, I would go like to the White House and Pentagon. I would be the #1 best, leaker out there.
Just be a fly on the wall anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like everyone's like,
I think bumped into you though, like you're
whistleblower.
And so yeah, you're invisible, right? You're doing your whistleblowing job, and somebody just kind of bumps into you, and they're just instinctively, like, oh, I'm sorry.
That's why remote viewing is way better, right? If you can remote view.
Yeah,
I saw you link this remote viewing thing that I think I'm going to check out. Actually,
yeah.
That's so interesting.
Hey, Dave, can you pull up that search? Because there's a thing with the CMEs. It's called sprites, and you didn't used to see them, but because our magnetic shield is weakening, you're starting to see these things in the sky.
You're the only other person that I've ever heard of that has talked about these the sprites. I've seen the jellyfish photos before, but I've never heard anybody else talk about them.
That would freak me out if I saw that. But anyway, these things are becoming more and more visible now and prevalent, right?
You know what's interesting is that looks just like I don't know what. There's a couple of films though where
Fire in the
you
Sky.
see the new. I think it's the new
Lord of the Rings.
Where I don't think it's Lord of the Rings.
It definitely looks like the dragon is coming down, and like in Lord of the Rings.
I haven't seen the new Lord of the Rings. Oh, that one. Yeah.
The Fellowship. It looks like the dragon.
I was thinking more along the lines of like a space battle, like spaceships being blown up and raining down, like gravity pulling it down to Earth and like raining over everything.
Like, oh, great! They finally brought the space war to our neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's wild.
The neighborhood that the aliens roll their windows up when they go through. They're just like, I don't want to be anywhere near Earth. They keep saying everything we didn't build is them, thanks to fucking ancient aliens. But that's a whole different topic.
That's a great show.
No, it is not.
It's a highly entertaining show.
It is a highly entertaining show.
And some of it will make me think, just because like I'd never heard somebody claim that before. And it's super
that's my thoughts. My thoughts at the end of it are usually like, how did we get here? It always kind of boils down to brown people could never have built anything good. So.
Yeah, think about
it. Arrows. Why is it arrows?
Yeah, it's strange, huh? It's just like lightning. It's all jagged. What's really strange is there is cave drawings of like sprites and this kind of thing. Some people think that Squatter Man, that image of Squatter Man, is actually these plasma bursts that the ancients saw in the sky, and that's what they put it on their walls, because that Squatter Man image is all over the world. It's in all these different caves and on this rocks.
Well, to Ancient Aliens credit, that's one of the that like there's some shit that's in Ancient Aliens, the TV show, that ain't a bunch of hooey. No, it's actually like, no, this same thing actually is around the world. Or this, the UFO cave painting things, that stuff is a little bit weird. The actual literal airplanes,
No, stop. We're going to open up a can of worms if you start talking about that golden flying airplane that looks like a bird because it's a fucking bird.
You know what? You would be Egyptian. You would be the person that I would ask about that, David.
That damn bird, how they're just like, this would have flown if they just added a tail here. It's like, yeah, because you changed the fucking experiment.
I did see how much that they had modified it to make it fly. I'm not saying that it would have flown. I'm saying there's a bunch of imagery that looks like airplanes and spaceships in old stuff.
The words that is why ancient aliens and also historical conspiracy theories start. Like those fucking people on TikTok that were just like, oh, there's 300 years of a gap here. And like, we never really had the Roman Empire. It's all fake. Those people exist because of words you just said. Looks like. Yeah.
It does look like some things. There's a really good, I want to plug somebody else's really good channel.
David's very passionate about this.
Yeah.
Nut. I'm sorry.
There's a YouTube channel called the Y Files, like the X Files, but Y, but not the letter Y, the word Y. So WF.
Oh, okay.
Like WTF, but without the T, Y Files. Dude does a great job. Most of the show, like the first half or more of each episode, each one will be a different conspiracy theory. And the first half, at least, will be laying out the conspiracy theory, not his opinion of it, not saying it's true or false. What's the conspiracy theory? Lays it out as if it's all true. Here's what it is. Here's the theory, yada, yada, yada. And then at the end, he'll go back and say, okay, what part of that is easily disproven? What part of that is actually recorded history? Things like that. And he's got there's a bunch of things that are not true. And he does a good job about saying, no, this actually, people don't realize this. They don't look into it far enough. This is actually completely a hoax. Other stuff, like there's literally been a lot of CIA funding for years on remote viewing, right? A lot of actual things that have happened. Stuff that you would think is like, that's a bunch of hoopla.
Oh, sorry, I just noticed.
Yeah, it's a good resource because it's a jumping off point, right?
Yeah,
you can ingest that and then take it.
Yeah, if people watched that documentary and saw that, the CIA was using it and having people choke people remotely, like it'll freak them out.
Yeah,
literally.
There was apparently a 20 to 40% success rate in some of these people. Like they found down Russian jets. They found stuff. You can go watch them.
Somehow we're all interconnected, and that's just tapping into that.
Well, I grew up, like part of my beliefs growing up when I was, a kid and everything, I grew up learning a lot of pagan stuff. So like remote viewing and, being able to kind of project yourself to different places. I mean, that falls directly into my realm of things that make sense to me. So yeah, I'm going to go watch that. That sounds like it's going to be.
So when y'all were saying remote viewing, I thought it was just like somebody hacking into somebody's webcam.
Yeah, there's that too. But that's more prevalent.
Yeah, people have been doing that for a long time. What's the conspiracy?
We're going to be sending our brains and looking.
But the part that's weird, it's like you send yourself there subconsciously, and you check out the alien moon base on the other side of the moon and stuff like that.
There's there's a myth for death that a lot of different cultures have, and it's the Sea of Reeds and the Egyptian legend, which is the best way to put it, which is just when you die, you essentially end up in this area and you have to figure out where to go, right? So astral projection is a thing that a lot of people tend to like. If, let's say, Dave, let's say you die today horribly, and the last person you talked to was me. I might end up in that Sea of Reeds, kind of astrally projected, helping you through it. So like stuff like that is prevalent in that.
Spirit guide.
You don't have to be dead for remote viewing.
Right. Well, this is when I'm
dead for it, but with pagan stuff, we tend to end up there because
okay.
Like, hey, you want to come give me a hand?
What I'm curious about is if you assume now, there's a lot of things that I don't know what I believe, and one of them is what happens after you die, right?
Yeah.
I tend to lean towards nothing at all happens once you die. You're brain dead, and that's it. But
I can tell you that's not
make an
true.
assumption that I'm wrong. Let's assume I'm wrong, and that millions of people around the world are right when they assume that something does happen after you die. You go somewhere. There's a spirit, right? If there's a spirit, and to me that's a big if, but if there's a spirit that's separate from the body, is it only when you die that it goes somewhere, or can you train yourself to remote view with that spirit? And that's kind of the theory about remote viewing.
Where do you go when you sleep?
That you can. Well, I've been watching Sandman on Netflix lately, and I can tell you, it's wild.
I feel like this
that's the interesting thing to me.
We need Cerebro. I think we still need it.
Oh,
We've been sleeping on it too long. That's the next Dow we need is the Cerebro
Dow.
That's what we need.
That's like a step above the red pill Dow. That's above red pill.
Astral Projection stuff. That's great.
Oh, John, you weren't here for the product pitch, the red pill product pitch, were you? Basically, I Am is going into a new venture, and he's going to be manufacturing, marketing, selling red pills as a product. It'll be like a fortune cookie, but it's a red pill. Open it up and there's truth in there.
Wild inside.
So I was a drug pusher. I'm a drug pusher. Red pilling.
Can that be manually or forcefully?
We'll just hire them to write all the things to go inside.
You can
send out personal red pills to people.
Yeah, it's a horse water kind of thing, right?
Talking about the whole connectivity thing, that's what really gets me to the point of, well, there is a God and there must be a reason, because there's some kind of awe in how everything is created, but then also how we're all connected. And my personal experience was when my father was extremely ill with a brain tumor, he would have these violent seizures. It would knock him to where he would have to learn how to walk all over again. These were called the grand mal seizures. And I was a teenager, and I would go, maybe camping with the Boy Scouts on the weekend or something. And at 3 a.m, I would wake up and all of a sudden in my sleeping bag, and I knew my dad must have had a major seizure. And I would come home and I said, "Where's Dad? Dad had a seizure, didn't he?" And my mom would say, "How did you know? You were 100 miles away." And that's that connectiveness, we're all connected in some way.
It's incredible you say that about the seizure thing specifically. Not to cut Dave off, because we got a segue for that, I'm sure. But basically, my dad growing up had a seizure condition as well. When he was 13, he hit his head on a skateboard, and he, from the time he was like, it didn't cause any issues then, but from like 18 onward until he passed away, he had grand mal seizures. And I would have that same thing. Once I moved out and I was out on my own, I'd wake up 1 o'clock in the morning and I'd be like, something's off. And I would find out the next day, like I'd get a text from him that was just off. Like, that just
we
off.
are frequency, you guys. What do you think the DNA helix is?
Like when
it's
my
an
dad
antenna.
When my dad died, I had I was asleep and I heard in my head, and I've told this story a million times. I woke up right after it happened. He died at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up at like 6:10 because I heard his name over and over and over and over. Not just like his name, Greg, like the full thing. And that's what woke me up. And I was like, something's wrong today. And then I got a phone call like an hour later. So people have a connectivity to them.
When you meet somebody and it seems like you've known them forever, or a mother, they'll say like, "Oh, mother's intuition," where their child, or you guys are explaining even a connection with your fathers. You're away from them because we are frequency, and we're all connected with each other. And I am beginning to believe, or beginning to think that is what the second coming of Christ is going to be. The consciousness of all of us understanding that we're all connected. And that is that when we come together and realize that we're all connected, then that is like the knowing.
That's an interesting theory, because I had never heard of that before, Lisa. And I'm looking it up on nih.gov right now. And there's a paper on electromagnetic fields interacting with DNA. And different RF ranges and stuff. And so it reacts to EMF as it, if an antenna was that. So it's fractal antennas, which are a thing. That's interesting. I have to look into that. That's an interesting, whether there's anything to it. Like, what if we're all just vessels like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica, and we're just like remote robots? Or something.
Just your meat suit.
That would be interesting, right?
I love that meat suit. I'm expecting one of two things to happen when I kick the bucket. I'm going to die and wake up in whatever simulation that we live in, and I'm going to be like, "Oh crap, that's right. I've been plugged into this thing for a while. I got to go back and figure out what I'm actually supposed to be doing, right?" Or basically, whatever you want to happen to you happens to your consciousness when you kick it. Like, I would love to be able to view all of history in like a rewind, fast forwardy type thing. So, like, I don't know, maybe people who are of the Christian faith, when they die, they do get their heaven, or like, people that are of Buddhist faiths get their afterlife.
It's interesting too, because on almost all religions, there's a form of or description of what is commonly called karma. You get it comes back to you, or the definition of hell in a lot of different religions is whenever you wrong somebody, the hell is feeling that person's pain and sorrow and hurt, and living that over and over and over and over. And that's an amazing. I can't even imagine that torment, because I'm just such a horrible person. Look what I've done. I've insulted all of you today at least once.
That happened at the end of the last episode of Sandman that I just watched last night. And hell is an interesting place in that film. I'm looking forward to see how they interpret stuff, because they really are. Neil Gaiman is really like putting a bunch of religious and a lot of like Nordic gods and stuff like that. It's like a modern reinterpretation of all of this stuff.
I've got like all kinds of crap I'm gonna have to go watch today.
Yeah. There's plenty of stuff we don't freaking know.
And then think of it on the molecular level. Cells have memory. They're you have the electron, the neuron. They're all firing off.
What's wild to me, like genetic memory and stuff like that. Humans are kind of useless for a long time when we're born, but you see a deer and they come out and they're like doing deer shit.
They just
immediately walking around being a deer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's part of the survival though.
Yeah, sure, right. They gotta run immediately. They gotta run. We have time to think and develop, higher.
But when
brain
you're talking
function,
about genetic memory, so my biological father left us when I was really young. My little brother was probably 3, maybe not even 3. I don't know. But he, to this day, moves like him. And he has like I can't stand to watch him barbecue, because he moves just like my biological father. His mannerisms. He wasn't even around him.
I've seen that too, actually.
But there's that DNA. And my little baby Mia, she was adopted, but she there were these things that she would do and move and whatever. And I'm like, oh, she did not get that from me.
It's like,
right. Especially when we're young, I think, because I used to do some shit that my dad used to do that he stopped doing before I developed, but I started doing, like OCD shit. And like I've seen the same thing with my half sister with her dad when she was younger. It's like there's some weird similarities there. It's like, why do you act like certain? Not anymore, but when we were young, we did things that were very specifically. I don't know if we were mimicking because maybe we did see it and didn't remember it or whatever. But yeah, a lot of that connectedness stuff is like there's this thing that's sort of a pseudo 6th and 7th sense among the main 5. And, like one of them is that feeling of someone's watching me or whatever. And it's either you're really paranoid and sometimes you're right by chance, or there's some kind of like sense there. And the other one is the sense of falling, sensing gravity, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's some senses that let you pick up on stuff. And, it could very well be that a lot of it's just pattern recognition from, 5 to 7 different inputs. And subconsciously, and maybe with genetic memory, you're recognizing patterns from the input sensory data. And it seems like something that is supernatural.
With somebody's watching you thing. No, keep going.
Or as I tend to believe, I don't know. I don't know much of anything, but it seems like aliens are plausible.
Oh,
then maybe the gods are aliens, kind of thing. There's a lot of
ancient alien stuff that I say, like everything I have to say about ancient aliens. There's definitely things that float around above us in the sky, like absolutely. But I just don't think they influenced all of human history.
So Uncle Cliff, his dad was in, like, I'm trying to make sure I say the right war. I guess it would be World War II. I don't think it would be the Korean War, because my dad, who was older than my mom, but I'm pretty sure it was in World War II, that his dad was a pilot and they had the first night vision goggles, but they were red instead of green. And his dad actually got an award from the military or whatever for going in and ripping the goggles off and telling his whole guys, I don't know if they were in a helicopter or plane. I guess they're in a helicopter. I can't remember the exact story, but there is an audio of Uncle Cliff telling this story to somebody that the gunner guy, his dad went down and like ripped the goggles off this kid, and it was before like the wars where there was like heroin and all that kind of stuff. So he was like, but this kid looked like he was like so jacked on something, and he was terrified, and he was like, you know, he's shooting at something. Well, he's going to shoot the other planes or helicopters or whatever, because he could see demons basically flying out there.
Oh God.
And so with the red night vision, you can see the spirits or aliens. Maybe we're using,
that's interesting,
different words for the same thing.
That could, the different words for the same thing. I think
Like
about that a lot in the context of different religions and stuff too. Yeah.
If you call it an alien, could that be a demon or an angel?
That makes you think as well with like dimensional stuff. So here we go. So Carl Sagan has a really cool example on third and fourth and second dimension, and how if we lived in a 3-dimensional world like we do, and there was a world around us that could observe us, you know, just like I could draw a picture on a piece of paper that's flat and look down at it and I can observe it. But that little picture, if it was alive, would have no way to see me because it's 2-dimensional, unless you were to whisk it up in the air and it suddenly saw like all this whole world. It would have no idea how to describe it.
Like our aunt's aware of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, they live in a 3-dimensional space, so they're somewhat aware of us. But if let's say there's a 4th-dimensional space around us, watching us talk about this right this moment, but we'd have no way whatsoever to ever even know about it or how to even describe it. So there's definitely different. I mean, if we are in a 3rd-dimensional space and we know there's a 1st and a 2nd-dimensional space, there's bound to be more.
That's what this book Flatland is about.
Really?
Is it takes the point of view of a 2-dimensional being, and it tells the story of like what it would look like to live in a 3D world as a 2D being.
Oh, interesting.
As a way to try to make you think about what 4th-dimensional or, you know, a beyond beings, how they would perceive us, or how we would see maybe it's a 4-dimensional world, but we only perceive in 3 dimensions and that kind of thing.
John, what would be the comedy like in a 4-dimensional world?
Oh yeah, that's a good thought.
What?
Can you explain the comedy in a 4th dimension versus a 3rd dimension? How are the punchlines different?
They're not. What are you talking about? Comedy is universal.
Oh, all right, that's poetic in itself.
Comedy is galactic.
It's the same.
Comedy is galactic.
It's all the same. It's just subverting expectations or delivering on those expectations.
Comedy, you just do it 4th-dimensionally.
Comedy,
you know,
is just a release of energy or drama. Is all it is. So sometimes when something happens, it comes out as a cry, or sometimes it comes out as a laugh. That's all it is.
You know what's
It's good. No, it's really good actually.
I was trying to explain, as I often find myself having to do. I was trying to explain that something was satire or a joke or comedy to my wife, because here's a good joke. How many Germans does it take to screw in a light bulb? Just one, because they're amazing engineers but don't have a sense of humor. So I was trying to explain something to her, and it was like being taken too literal and stuff. And not everybody receives comedy. Everybody has the capacity to, but not everybody does receive comedy. I don't know if it's so universal.
My wife does the same thing where I'll be like explaining it. I'll tell her a joke and she'll just stare at me, and I'll have to like explain it the whole way through.
I do like the idea that John was saying though about it being galactic, because that's like the power of memes, right? When people have a lot of preconceptions where they don't want to think about certain things, but then they see a funny joke, but then they realize it's funny because it's actually kind of true. And then that breaks through this barrier of, you know, like political memes or political cartoons, the New Yorker, things like that, use comedy in art to break through societal barriers. And I think that's powerful and important.
Yeah. So like people just have different forms of what they like with comedy. I don't think like some people just don't have it. Like there are people that I guess just don't understand it, but like I don't know. Everybody just kind of has a different taste. You have to like develop that, just the same way you would like develop a palate when you're eating, or just any other skill. It's kind of a thing that you have to develop. So people that grew up in like a funny household usually have more of like that developed than other people.
I guess so. If it's part of your culture, then you're going to have a lot of years developing a sense of humor.
If not, you're gonna have what?
No, not you. I'm sorry. I just was wondering, what was the name of that book, Dave?
Flatland.
Flatland.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Flatland.
Fine, I copy now.
Yeah. And so like, but comedy too is just like, it's just drama is all it is. So like, if there's drama in whatever fourth dimension you want to talk about, then I think there's going to be comedy as well. So unless everybody's just like, Klingons and not Klingons,
they had comedy.
No, Klingons had comedy.
No,
yeah, they just like to stab people.
Was that like Vogon poetry?
Vulcan. So unless everybody's just a Vulcan, or a robot.
Oh yeah. Well, keep in mind though, as you age as a Vulcan, you may start to show emotion, which is a bad thing.
Yeah, because you can't control it.
And that was a learned, that's a culturally learned thing in that universe too, where the Vulcans were not always that way.
It was worked out of them over thousands of years.
It's like a discipline.
It's how they split. Yeah, the Romulan, Klingon, Vulcan all had the same, DNA at one point.
And then they became three different.
I think that kind of like just shows the point that like it's just if there's drama or there's conflict or not conflict, but there just has to be like some type of emotion, and you'll find like a way for something to be funny, and you'll find a way for something to be sad. So unless we're all robots, like I do that exercise with my students, where I make them do like comedy scenes as robots. It's actually kind of funny, but it just shows like,
interesting.
It shows like what it takes to be funny. Like if you're just walking around saying things and saying facts, that's not funny. And then I also make them do comedy as pirates, where I make them pretend to like do stuff with pirates, and then it's not funny because it's a giant like weird conglomeration of weird shit that's not connected. So you have to have like context to your funny, right? You have to have support or meet expectations. But if there are no expectations, then it's just like comedy vomit.
Now I just want to see your whole class talking like pirates for like half an hour.
Well, you can pay for a seat and take his class.
I actually, just complete side note, I talked to a customer here the other day that was at your comedy show when we did the Den one. They were talking about how much they liked Heartwood or Heartwood as a location, right? So, speaking of Heartwood, I just saw there they are.
Yeah, they're right there.
They're talking about how much they love it. Yes, Dave on his own team.
Other Dave, Mr. Milosh, Dave Milosh.
They actually had paid to come inside, and they thought they had more fun out there than they'd had in a while. So just figured I'd tell you that. Also, I met your father. Side note.
Mine?
Yeah, he came in the store.
Oh, what was wrong?
I don't remember.
Oh, he had a MacBook computer screen, probably.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what it was. I was wanting to look at it. I was wanting to go look at a desk, but I ended up never having time to.
You fixed it so quick, you forgot about it.
I don't know if I fixed anything. I think it was beyond economical.
Yeah. The screen would have been more than the computer was worth.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what it was.
But it was a nice computer. I liked it. It had like a terabytes SSD in it and stuff.
It was a good machine. But yeah, it was interesting. The only reason I even knew it was your dad is because he was talking about his kid, and it was just like, "Oh yeah, my son John," and then I saw his last name. I was like, "Wait a minute." So I was like, "Hey, wait, are we the same John? Is your guy the improv guy?" He was like, "Oh yeah, it's my kid." So that was a blast for
my dad does not sound like a surly British.
He does not sound like a surly British.
Yeah, you just made up an accent for John's dad.
He did specifically tell me that he doesn't think you're funny, though.
You sounded like an old copper or something. Like, yeah, you see, that's my kid.
It's okay. At least there's better. At least I didn't drop into an accent like he's from Texas or something.
He's just a white dude from the South. I mean, I feel like we could
accent would be fine.
Yeah, you could just be you.
Just be me, and I'm your father now. Well, I'm your father now.
That's weird. All right,
as far as you know.
Well, David, I'm your father.
That's a different movie.
You guys want to wrap this up? We've been going for a minute here, and I'm going to go get some more coffee in a minute.
Yeah, I think we're just babbling now. I should probably go do some actual computer work.
Here's something funny that somebody sent me. A friend of mine just sent me. The Ethereum merge is happening.
Oh boy. Really?
Tomorrow?
I'd rather have a solar flare.
Yeah, it's like a day out.
Yeah, like,
I'd rather have a solar
I was
flare.
looking at Sunday, like I went to whatever the Ethereum merge clock or something, or Saturday. It was like 4 days and 2 hours out or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been keeping super close eye on it, but it should be in the next few days. Is what it should be, and so it's a really big deal that everyone's looking at the Ethereum merge.
Yeah.
And the message that I got was, "Oh wow, this does not look like a thing to do in a Mercury retrograde." Like,
perfect.
People in crypto are starting to watch like moon cycles and shit now too, which, funnily enough, there's something to it. I think it's a network effect or something, but who knows?
Well, millionaires have, what do they say? Millionaires have psychics, billionaires have astrologists.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Wow.
I need to give me a psychic.
It's a thing.
I can tell you, we can find a few astrologists if you need.
Or at least a psychotic astrologist. That might do.
Ooh.
I'm a poor person. I got all like tarot cards.
How can you not trust the stars? Whether you're a Christian or a scientist, I don't know how you can't trust the stars. I had somebody on my Patreon tell me, like, you say you're a Christian, but you've got this astrologer on your channel, and and I even had another friend ask me about it, and I was like, well, I'm really confused because in the Bible, like, God literally told the wise men to follow the stars.
And stuff, reading the stars and interpreting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, it also was a really big part of early Christianity too.
Oh,
I mean, like, they had people who were specifically staring at the sky to see like what events could take place, and like God's in the heavens, so why would you not look up at the heavens at that time?
The most like consistent thing in our universe, and
we use
talk about calendars and cycles. We use it for navigation. I know, Dave. I figured you'd be all over it.
I know. See, here's the thing, man. Is I flip flop.
Navy man.
I go back and forth because, like, I really, really try to be a what's the word where I deny everything?
Yes,
like, I don't believe shit.
Denier. Heretic. Denier.
Heretics are different.
Like anything that is remotely, like I think it was because I had such a woo phase in life where I was heavy into like magic and stuff and like spirituality and astrology, and like there was a few years there where I was woo as fuck, and I think I'd ruined it for myself because I was like, man, a lot of that shit, maybe I shouldn't have jumped into it. Both.
I think you can be open-minded to it without having to identify with it.
Right.
Like,
so that's where I am today. I'm open-minded about it because it's pretty reliable that whenever I go after something that I think I know is bullshit, when I really do start looking into it, I start getting into like, okay, maybe it's not what's said in this one theory, but actually there might be more to it than just dismissing it out of hand, and this is to do with like our place in the universe, and as we travel through different parts of the galaxy and encounter different things, maybe there.
I mean, if you believe the moon is pulling the ocean, and you're talking about magnetic poles moving and all of this.
The moon in the ocean is gravity. We don't really know how gravity works. We know the effects of gravity.
I think that's a big jump from believing in the tides to whether or not I'm going to have a good day based on like when I was born.
You would think.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's like a different thing.
Yeah,
like,
you would think, and I would think as well.
Really.
It actually kind of rolls back to something that you just said, though, that Lisa said about how you have a couple of friends who are like, oh, you say you're a Christian, but you look at all this astrology stuff. It's like, yeah, because you can look at stuff from a different point of view, subjectively. So
it's interesting to me. And I guess this is what really like keeps me engaged with astrology when I want to just dismiss it out of hand. I'm not the Mercury and retrograde thing. I'm not in on that, but there are things, and I don't have time, maybe a different episode, or I'll do some more stuff. Here's what I'll talk about in a minute.
Cut your hair during Mercury and retrograde and you will regret it.
Oh, really?
If Dave cut his hair, I think he'd regret it.
Here's what I'll say, though, is that there are interesting coincidences where a similar conclusion is reached from the scientific community and from the religious community or the astrology community. I don't know if that's separate in itself. I don't know.
The
but
community.
Those things stick in my head. Like, okay, well, maybe nobody's right, but they all sort of like found an angle that I don't know. It's just weird sometimes when things line up like that.
Dave, something that you've taught me is really, really fascinating when we were talking about all this connectedness is that I guess you all realize that all the layers on Den are connected with a blockchain.
Right.
So you're teaching me these segues that it's been very
Carl
Sagan way.
Connection.
CMEs,
Oh my God.
Aliens.
I love that we've hit this part of the show.
It all connects right back to Dave to take us out here with his last item on his.
Go for your final item so we can get the hell out of here.
Sure. Yeah. So here's what I wanted to say, and this is maybe the most personal thing I've ever said, and it's pretty. I don't know. Maybe it's not for you, but we took off last week, and I've been kind of like not active on Den for a little while. My dad died not too long ago, a few weeks back. And I've been processing that. That's never happened to me before. My dad's never died before, and I've never had to deal with that. It was unexpected. He was 57 years old. And so part of something that I understood about myself after I went through that came from the realization that, and maybe it just took me too long to realize this, and other people can come to the same thing without their dad dying, I hope. My dad died, my grandpa before that died, my grandma. The three people in my life that were my most cherished family members, my rock, my people that I would lean on for advice, people that I respected, but also the most judgmental people in my family. I realized that there's a lot of things that I was doing that were really just because I was expected to do them. And that, even when I was a child, that you try to make your parents happy. You try to do the things that the people around you think you're supposed to do because, you want to be a good person and you want to earn their respect in return. And that's great. And you should. But there's a lot of things that I was kind of like keeping up the appearances of, or spending time on, or spinning my wheels on, because I felt like it was expected that I do great stuff, or I do this thing that I said I was going to do, or whatever it was, because somebody else expected me to do it. And what I finally realized was, like, who's left? And in my case, it was like, who's left that what am I trying to prove and to who, right? Everyone that's left is not the judgmental type, and they don't really, care about all of that. And so it was almost like maybe I was searching for a silver lining and I found it. And it was this, like, if you are more true to yourself and you're honest with yourself about who you're doing things for in life, you can remove phone calls. You can remove a lot of stress by not just irresponsibly throwing things away that you don't want to do anymore, because that isn't, it's too easy to just do that. It doesn't always help. But if you can start backing out of things one by one and recognizing the things in your life that you're doing just because you're trying to please someone else, you'll have a lot more time to do the things that are important to you, and a lot more time to do the things that maybe matter to other people that you haven't thought of. And so that was my lesson from all of that, was maybe try to be more honest with yourself about why you're doing stuff. And that might lead you into a, I don't know, to me, it was an epiphany, and it took that for me. And so don't let it take that for you. So that's what I'll put out is try to.
Thank you for sharing that.
Try to learn from that without having to go through it yourself. Because Douglas Adams, last episode was 42. Douglas Adams said that humans are unique in their ability to learn from the experience of others, and also in their reluctance to do so. So don't be reluctant to learn from others.
Well,
and on that,
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, holy crap! Well said.
Sorry for you. Well said.
I don't know if I put it well.
Sorry for your loss.
But
you put it
did very well.
Well, I'll be the one that says it. We love you, buddy. And if you need us for anything, you know where to find us.
Thank you.
Yes.
I live down the street from you, so if you need me, just
Anybody else want to throw something out there into the ether while we're on our way out here?
Buy an ergonomic mouse. And that's my entire ether. There we go.
Buy an ergonomic mouse.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those. Thanks for demoing it.
I'm so happy with this stupid thing. It makes me. It's like it sits in your hand all nice. Just
We buy an ergonomic chair.
I like it.
Sitting in it too much.
We spend all of our time sitting here.
Get outside.
Any warnings from Carrington that I am can throw out to us?
No, I would just say just practice change that you want to see in the world. You know, it all starts with us inside and what we do. Actions.
Wow, what a poetic episode ending. My God.
Yeah. John, how about yourself? You want to say anything about comedy as an art form or just anything in general?
Yeah, sure. David, did you say earlier that my dad doesn't think I'm funny?
He made
that point. Too.
He made a point to tell me 3 times. He's like, I don't know. Everybody else thinks my son's funny.
Yeah, what a supportive member of your family.
I'm sure he was just cocking around, but
everybody else thinks I'm funny but him.
Apparently.
It's probably your dad trying to be.
Everybody else has a sense of humor, but if everybody else thinks something besides you, like you might need to look at yourself.
At least consider.
It might have been your dad's. It might have been your dad's attempt at humor himself, though.
Yeah,
like he might have thought he was being really funny.
Yeah, maybe he's very funny one, right?
He was a lot of fun to have in the shop, to be honest. So
he was just setting me up for this joke later. That's all it is.
He knew it. It's called sphere of influence. He knew it would get back to you. That information would get back to you.
I'll set one up for him. Okay. I'll set one up for him next time you see him. The leprechauns are going to steal his cereal one day, so just drop that in there.
So when he comes back because you didn't fix his computer well enough,
when he's mad.
Leprechauns gonna. It was the leprechauns that stole your cereal.
Cereal. That's
not his Lucky Charms though. His cereal.
Just his cereal in general.
Yeah. So.
Lisa, you want to put anything out before we sign off here?
Just for everybody to make sure they go watch that open source money movie and pay attention. I think there is some kind of countdown happening, whether it's the ETH merge, the Harvest Moon, on 9/22, the space launch seems to be happening. Then the Vatican has ordered all liquidity be returned by the 29th. Germany has ordered military on the streets by October 1st. There is missing precious metals. I just did a video with Andy Sheckman from Miles Franklin on my channel yesterday. He breaks down where there's missing precious metals in the U.S., a significant amount, and not in other countries. And there's shit happening. So definitely
big time.
You can feel it in the air.
Yeah, prepare and
if
look out for your family.
Yeah, everyone's feeling it. Everyone around the world is feeling something is just not right.
I have my one final caveat that's not about a mouse for my actual thing to say to give everyone some info. Don't listen to Ancient Aliens. That's it. That's my entirety of it. It's bullshit. Everything they say is a lie, and Giorgio's an asshole.
Well,
but I'd have a beer with him any day of the week.
We used to call what Lisa was talking about. We used to call it the pucker factor, and the pucker factor is high. It's when you're everybody's stressed out, so your butthole's puckered up.
Right there.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go out with 2 quick videos. One of them is a tool that you can use to reduce your personal pucker factor, and the other one is a song called "Enter the Dragon" by Y'all Weird. I'll see y'all next week. All right, thanks.
See ya.
Fun morning.
Bye.
While nuclear weapons states can exert unlimited violence over even millions of individuals, strong cryptography means that a state, even by exercising unlimited violence, cannot violate the intent of individuals to keep secrets from them. Cryptography is the ultimate form of non-violent direct action.
Because that goes will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, raw capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.